everybody, welcome back to In Your Face Studios and another episode of Having Fun. I know I say this quite a bit, but this episode is a very special episode. I got a couple boxes of Funko Pops. These are Fred and Barney Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles Funko Pops. I'm loading them up here. I'm taking them down to LA because I'm going to have my good friend Scott Shaw draw on these. Now these pops are going to be super rare and super limited because we only have 12 sets of them. And what Scott's going to do is he's going to draw Fred and Barney on each one of them. We got a special exclusive sticker that's going to be on them. And the first time you're going to be able to get your hands on them is going to be at San Diego Comic-Con Special Edition the day after Thanksgiving at Scott's table. And then that Saturday, half of them will be available at my comic shop, Diggers Comics and Collectibles, located in beautiful downtown Hemet, California. So they're going to be really awesome. They're going to be really neat. We have a very really cool, like I said, sticker on them that's going to say Diggers Comics and Collectibles and Scott Shaw exclusive. And yeah, you can pick them up there. But first, we got to get them done. We got to get them drawn on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to go pick up my buddy Daniel. He's going to join us, and then we're going to head down to LA to make Scott Shaw work. Alright. Now, this is going to be kind of a treat for Daniel because he usually drives when we go do things like this. So I'll be doing the driving this time, and he gets to relax all the way there. I don't know if it's relaxing. If you've ever been in a car with me in long drives, if I'm driving, I'm either talking quite a bit or I'm fighting off trying to fall asleep. Luckily, it's early in the day, so I don't think I'm gonna fall asleep, but you never know. Luckily, Daniel doesn't live that far from me, so I just pick him up, and then it's about an hour and a half drive to where Scott Shaw lives. I'll put his address right here or something so everybody can write him letters. Now, growing up, I was a huge fan of Scott Shaw's. I knew he worked on comics, cartoons, and things like that. I was really excited to meet him. I remember the first time I actually met him was at San Diego Comic-Con, and I asked him for advice and this and that, and he's super nice to me. He loves to talk to cartoonists in general, but young cartoonists I think he enjoys talking to the most. If he can give anybody advice or help them with their career, that's what he does. He's really just an awesome guy and an amazing cartoonist. I think we're real lucky to get Scott to draw on these boxes because they're not just Flintstone boxes. They are Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles Flintstone Pop boxes. And really, I mean, he's the man that's really responsible for that product. Not only selling the product, but making the commercials entertaining and making the commercials almost like short cartoons for the series. I mean, they play into the series. They're not just like, here, buy this cereal and eat the cereal. No, he made them entertaining. You actually enjoyed watching them. You actually enjoyed looking at everything that was going on in the cartoon. Because it was a cartoon, it was a commercial, but it was a cartoon with great animation and great stories. It's really cool, and I think we're really lucky to have this being done. So Daniel and I have arrived at our destination, and we have the Funko Pops. As you can see, that we have Fred right there with Fruity Pebbles, and we have the little sticker there that you're gonna see when you pick these up, and we'll tell you later how you can do that. Here's Barney. I don't know, I actually like I actually am more of a Barney person than Fred. How about you?
No.
Huh?
No, Fred, because
he looks like you.
Yes. Yeah. And both my cousin Angelo is the blonde-haired, blue-eyed one,
oh, okay.
and I was the dark-haired one. So my grandmother.
Barney doesn't. Oh yeah, Barney does have blue eyes.
Yeah.
Who would know? This gentleman would know. Does Barney have blue eyes?
Barney has white eyes like Little Orphan Annie.
Ah.
Around 1965, they started filling it in because I think Bill Hanna realized it didn't take nearly as much time to make a black spot as around a perfect circle. But I like the fact that the earlier ones, it makes him feel more naive, and which matches Barney's personality in those early ones, where Barney was like Ed Norton, incredibly stupid. By the time we did the Pebbles spots, he was smarter than Fred. Something happened. Fred must have had a stroke or something from eating all those Pebbles.
So as you can see, he's an expert on the Flintstones, because if you don't know who this is, shame on you. This is Mr. Scott, don't call me a legend, Shaw.
Don't call me a legend.
He's a legend, but he doesn't like that term. So I say he's a prolific cartoonist.
I'll show you who's a legend.
Who's a legend here? There he is.
Bigfoot.
Hide and seek champion.
Do we look alike? Do we look at all alike? This is a legend. I'm just a poser.
As him and I talk about a lot of time, he's a cartoonist.
This is Bigfoot. I'm 1 foot.
He's one. Yeah, he's 1 foot. Let's see. You got Ratfink right there. See, look at that, and that'll tie into what we're going to talk about today, because Mr. Shaw is going to draw on these Funko Pops, and he's going to sign them. We're only going to have 12 sets that we're making. We don't know how many are actually going to go on sale. We might keep some for ourselves. But, and the first time you're going to be able to get them is going to be the first day of San Diego Comic-Con Special Edition at his table. And then that Saturday, part of them will be at my comic book shop, Diggers Comics and Collectibles in Hemet, California. And that's how it's going to go, and that's all. They're going to be limited to just these ones. And if you have your own and you want to bring it to him to sign, he'll sign it if he so chooses, or maybe he'll even draw it too, but it won't be the same as these. You just use a black Sharpie. You don't get a fancy paint pen on yours. So we're going to get to it right now. I'm going to let you draw. We're going to draw, but because I know you like to talk when you draw too, right?
Well, I like to talk in general.
But so one of the things I wanted to talk about is, so you worked for Hanna-Barbera, but when you worked on the Pebble stuff, were you working for Hanna-Barbera then, or was it a separate gig?
It was a separate gig.
Separate gig. Was it? It was after.
It was at the ad agency.
At the ad agency, and so
then I was dealing with real.
And
you think entertainment's bad? Deal with people in advertising.
No, I was an intern at an advertising agency, and I saw all kinds of crap when I was there. People screwing everybody over and mocking other people's work and stuff like that.
Nobody could mock my work because I was the only person there that could actually write and draw.
Right.
Everybody else there, it wasn't like advertising in the 60s where it was like the brightest and the best people wound up in advertising.
Yeah.
And then they went into entertainment. No, I was already in entertainment. I went into advertising only because of the Flintstones. And I wound up working on other brands too, and they also went up. But when I wound up working on it, I didn't know this, but are you recording this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. A lot of the material going out of there was not doing well. I didn't know it at the time, but agencies get graded by their clients.
Oh.
At least, from brand to brand. And Pebbles cereal was getting a C because they weren't selling well and the kids didn't seem to like the
This is before you. Okay.
After I was in there for about a year, I found out about all this, and it had gone up to an A.
Ah.
And it stayed at an A.
Because you knew what you were doing.
Well, not only that, but because my goal was I understood that kids were going to see these commercials 40, 50, 60 times if they were watching cartoons. So I better make them entertaining. And I put up all kinds of weird stuff going on in the backgrounds, especially stuff that if you're a Flintstone fan, you'd recognize. So this wasn't just for the kids; it was for people like me that still like the Flintstones.
Yeah, and it wasn't just to sell a product; it was to entertain them at the same time.
Right. And Hanna-Barbera had to approve this stuff, but they never had any issue at all. In fact, Bill Hanna once signed a letter he wrote, essentially said, if Scott Shaw does it, consider it approved.
Yeah.
Because he knew my work and knew I was
because if you were still there and you were the one, he would tell you, you check out the stuff from them and approve it, right? If it wasn't you.
No, I wasn't the guy approving stuff there.
No, I'm saying, but he could have. That's how much he thought of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I went from Hanna-Barbera into doing Captain Carrot, and then I don't know exactly how it happened. I don't think I ever came back to Hanna-Barbera, but I wound up going from Film Roman, working on Garfield, to the ad agency specifically to work on Pebbles commercials.
When did you start that?
At the agency started in 1991, but I'd been working on the commercial since the early 80s.
Oh, okay.
And I was doing the design and the boards and everything, but I didn't have the position where I could tell everybody else how to do it.
Right.
And once I had that ability, I was very happy with the results because it looked to me the way the Flintstones should have always looked. Even watching the early shows, as much as I love them, I'm thinking we had a better budget and a better schedule, so we actually were able to do what may be the most competent Flintstone animation ever, especially because Mike Gonzala animated most of it, and he's not only a great animator, but he's funny and he loves the Flintstones like I did.
That's when the love comes through.
Yeah, well, obviously the love isn't going to be coming through with that Yabba Dabba Dinosaur show.
Oh, jeez.
By the way, folks, this is actually my drawing that I'm going over here. It's not me tracing somebody else's work.
You're not a tracer. I say it's inking. You're inking. Like if you had your pencils, some people do that where they ink over it on a separate paper. So you're just inking your own drawing.
Well, not the way I'd like to.
Right. Well, this is a new medium. This is the first time you've ever done anything like this, right? Drawn on a pop box?
Well, I've drawn on cells and stuff. But that's a whole different situation.
That's different.
And it's with different kind of material, too. See, if I can do all the lines that are kind of in the same direction at once, that helps.
We're putting the finishing touches on the last Fred.
Chocolatey.
There it is. Now we're done with Fred. And we're going to move on to Barney.
Chocolatey. Tastes like paint.
Why don't you share a little bit about your history with this product?
When I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a cartoonist, and I also was fascinated by paleontology and dinosaurs and any archaeology, anything from the distant past. But I mainly like dinosaurs because I like the fact they look like monsters. And here I find out there's going to be a new show called The Flintstones by the studio that did Yogi Bear and Huckleberry Hound and Rough and Ready, all my favorite cartoons. Plus, the drawing I saw of Fred Flintstone, I thought, that looks like my dad. So I kind of liked him from the very beginning and actually had to go to an awful lot of effort to avoid horrible violin and accordion lessons in favor of staying home and watching the Flintstones. I actually made a big campaign on my parents. Anyway, I taught myself how to draw the Flintstones when they came out, 60, and I won a school election. Even though I was kind of the irritating nerd, I still won because I knew how to draw Fred, and I thought, something's happening here.
Was that the poster that?
Yeah,
I remember seeing it, and you sent me a picture recently.
Well, I've always wanted to be a cartoonist, and I always studied the Hanna-Barbera stuff as a kid, as well as Jay Ward and other stuff, Disney, everything. But Hanna-Barbera was always an influence. Well, in 1977, I started working on the Flintstone comic books that Marvel was publishing with the cooperation of Hanna-Barbera. And a couple of years later, somebody at Hanna-Barbera noticed my work in these comics and asked me if I wanted to work there. And I said, well, I kind of like to just do my own thing, but thanks. But what would be the show? And they said, oh, we're doing a new Flintstone show. I said, well, when do I start?
They got you.
Yeah. But I wound up working on the Flintstone, the first Flintstone show I worked on was called The New Fred and Barney Show. I think that was in '79. And from that point on, I worked on tons of Flintstone stuff, including comics and toys and publicity art and the shows themselves and all sorts of aspects of it. But then in 1991, I decided to work for an ad agency that did all the Pebbles cereal commercials, called Ogilvy and Mather. And that's when I started to really get involved with the cereal itself. And I probably wrote and designed and art directed and storyboarded close to 200 commercials. And we had a much bigger budget and bigger schedule, to more time, so I thought the work turned out better. And I also designed the boxes. I also designed the stuff that went into the boxes.
Oh, the toys?
Yeah, I did a lot of toys. And I also did comic book and magazine ads. So I really was kind of,
I knew you did the
place doing so much Flintstone stuff in so many different ways.
I knew you did the boxes and the actual commercials. I had no idea you did the toys.
Well, not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah.
At the time. Working for an ad agency was something I'd never done before, but I enjoyed the fact that I had a say in how these commercials looked and how people perceived the product. I did a lot more work than you ever saw, because for every one commercial I probably created a half dozen possible commercials, and that way the client could pick which one they wanted. But the advantage I had over other people, I think, was the fact that not only did I love and know the history of the Flintstones and how to draw them and what they were all about, but I also still was working in animation and comics freelance and had many friends who were giving me advice on what shows they were working on, what new projects they had. I actually based a couple of these commercials on movies that hadn't come out yet. So when they actually released the movie, our commercials were right next to them. The Lion King one was the one that got the biggest hit. But I also did one that was a parody of The Mask, because I saw some of the special effects that somebody had shared with me. And I knew that was going to be a big hit. Boy, Fred looks like a maniac here. One of his eyes got kind of wacky. He's like, I will kill you now.
They never did an episode where Fred had to go to anger management.
Oh. Yeah, well, that would have worked. Maybe I'll do one blindfolded.
That'll be the challenge. I actually do have a challenge for you later, you'll see.
What, to eat 15 tacos at a sitting?
15 tacos? I can do that.
Like that Jack? No, it was 31 tacos.
No, I was going to talk about, and see if you catch what I'm saying. You have a little bit of guilt over Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles, or doing the cereal work in general.
I have the guilt that I probably influence some kids to eat so much cereal and they never changed their habits and they grew up and they were diabetic. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm diabetic, because I hated Pebbles cereal. I didn't like the taste of it at all.
You just thought it was karma.
But it is, karma does exist, and she really got me. Because it was only kind of slightly related to diabetes, but it still had something to do with it. I lost one of my feet. So, as I used to tell kids when I go into classes for career day, eat the boxes, it has more nutrition.
Yeah. I always think it's funny because when you and I are around people and they find out who you are or something like that, and you always say, "Do you have diabetes?" I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which I'll be the one that people tell you I have diabetes, and I can't feel like my toes most days, but it had nothing to do with the Pebbles.
I used to make jokes about how the fact I can't feel my toes, but it's okay. I can't see them either.
So now you're working on the last one, and I'm telling you, it may not be the last one. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
And
There it is.
yeah.
And he thinks that's it. But I'm a greedy guy, so I got to look out for me, right?
Uh-oh. Is there a giant one?
So now he gets to draw freehand on one for me.
Oh.
See? And if you would, I'd like a Fred and Barney.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to say anything. If you want to write something, you can. Have you seen that one? You've seen that one.
I've seen photos. You know what?
I got this one especially for you to draw on. Let me see if I can clean it off.
I'm actually impressed because the house is actually more on model than Fred.
Yeah. The buildings that they do usually are.
However, I gotta say, my own taste, I like it the best when they just look like rocks that they'd hollowed out.
Right.
I mean, this design was actually implemented in the last couple seasons, and then they really built on it with Teenage Pebbles and Bam Bam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the history. But sure, let's see. You want me to just? I think I should put one on either side.
Whatever you want to do.
Right.
It's gonna.
All right. Well, I will use the appropriate colors too.
And this is kind of cool for me because when I was 15, the first sketch you ever did for me was a Fred.
Well, I hope it was good. I hope it was better than these.
It was all right.
It was all right.
No, it was amazing. That's the thing people don't. I don't know if. I hate to say, like, people like you, professional artists, even when you do a simple sketch for somebody who's a fan or somebody who loves it, they get it. Even if it's a simple sketch, we think it's the best sketch we ever saw.
Well, that's kind of the way I felt when I was 5 years old and got that drawing of Pluto from the fella from the Mickey Mouse Club.
Right.
You just want it to look cool.
Here's a cocoa pen.
Ooh, cool.
What was the story about that? Because I know it, but you were telling about you keep referencing the cocoa and the chocolate.
Well, it's cocoa, chocolate, and fruit. There's none of it in the cereals. There is cocoa in Cocoa Pebbles, but that's not chocolate. I don't know the difference, but it is an important point legally, apparently.
Yeah, because chocolate is processed from cocoa and other things, so it's not the same thing.
Yeah, there's no sugar in it, for example. Yeah, and Pebbles is all sugar.
Boom. That's cool. And you didn't put Little Ambrose. That's good. You were the first person to ever tell me about Little Ambrose. There it is.
I'm still looking for that comic.
Everybody can be jealous. All right, so Scott is finished. I was going to say we were finished, but we didn't do it. It's all Scott. He did all these. These are the boxes here. You can see that with the remarks. You have Barney on Fred's and Fred on Barney. So Fred's saying, "Barney, my Pebbles," and Fred's saying, "Watch me trick Fred." That's the worst impersonation of those characters you're ever going to hear. So he remarked on those. So these are going to, like I said, are going to be available for the first time ever at San Diego Comic-Con Special Edition. What's the date? Do you remember the dates?
It's
the day after
days after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the weekend after Thanksgiving. I'll put the date right down here. You'll see it. You know how I do it.
And I'll be in Hall A, and I have the table number, and you'll put that up too.
Yeah, we'll put everything up there. And so the first time you can get them, first time you can get one of these sets. They're as a set. They only come as a set. There's only 12 sets total. Half of them are going to be at his table. You can get them from him. They're going to be one set for, what do we say, $100. $100 for the set. Now, if you're one of the lucky people that get there early and you really want something super special, Scott has the original finished drawings that he did, that he used for the remarques. So you can get a set with those original drawings, and those are the only drawings. There wasn't more than one of those made. There's just those drawings. You can get that set for $150. If you want to pay him more, you can do that too. You just have to talk him into it. But yeah, if more than one person shows up, you guys are gonna start bidding. But it starts at $150. So yeah, so make sure that you guys check it out. All the information will be here on the screen or in the link in the description. And now we're gonna go find some place to eat because we're all really hungry.
And it won't be cereal.
It won't be cereal. Well, I don't know. Maybe they have one of those places that sells the donuts with the cereal on top. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, thank you, Scott, Daniel, and you guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you liked it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click notifications, and have fun. And I'll see you in the next video. And you joked about, you said you could do these with your eyes closed, and you were going to do a blindfold. So we have 2 more that you're going to do with the blindfold. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, those will go into the trash, so we won't worry about that.
That would be funny.